All right, folks. Unprecedented again. I keep saying this every week. Another CIRF report that is, in my view, probably the most important one we've ever. I just keep saying this every week. It's incredible. The influence, the solution this week is right in line with what we're seeing play out in the world. And let's get started with the summary slide. What we do here is look for the triangulation of influences. We have several different technologies that we use, and you can see here there's really no overlap. I mean, it's all overlapped. And I do have to get my cursor pointer out. Sorry. I've been working through a lot of technology problems. So let's hopefully, let me know if there's some volume problems somewhere, but I think I got everything fixed out. Anyway, everything's directly overlapped together. And I've never seen this before. So the astrology is all about Neptune. It's dreamy, it's illusion, it's the house of mirrors. But then we also have that. Remember the Mars going retrograde and having the square with Pluto, and then now going direct again, causing more squares? Well, there's division, there's war, there's splitting apart. The I-Ching says splitting apart, but you're going to see there in it when we get to the I-Ching, it also talks about the house of mirrors. So we're hitting on two distinct different things with the I-Ching, division plus the house of mirrors. With the U.S. presidential election, we've got division and the house of mirrors. Like people don't want to see the truth that's happening underneath the fabric of this voting system. It's incredible how they can't see that. But anyway, then the dream bot, you're going to see splitting apart plus house of mirrors, and we've already talked about the astrology. Everything is right on top of each other. And then get this. So the I-Ching, there's no change lines. And what that means is there's the influence is the solution, is also the solution. So we're going to read that as one. Basically, everything's overlapped this week for the first time ever. The Dreambot, the I-Ching, the astrology, and etc. are all exactly on the same influence slide, but they're also the solution. So this is going to get really interesting today, and we're going to get started with a couple of dream bots next. All right, here we are. Now this is yesterday's. I'm just gonna point out the linguistic set from yesterday's. Review military, particularly score easy. And just so you know, the word military has been showing up quite a bit lately. A lot of people would think that's conflict, but what we've learned this week is that some of the team that looks like they're going to be looking into the fraud, you know what I mean, is a military lawyer. All right, I don't want to say names because I don't want to get highlighted here, but anyway, I find the fact that military is there is not a sign of conflict per se or a war, but I think something underlying it. It's an easy score here, and that's really good news for Patriot folks. All right, here's today's, and let's zoom in. Sorry I didn't zoom in on the other one, but we have coffee up at the top. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe some hyper sensations or some stimulation. All right. The red arrows, breaking, broken, combat, hot, bad. So there's instability, and it's breaking apart. The I-Ching said splitting apart. So that's a direct correlation there in my mind. And then the blue arrows, we're looking at cartoon, sleeping, worry. We're looking and wander. We're looking at the house of mirrors here. We're looking at fantasy, dreams. It's not real, that sort of thing. All right. So there's the collective unconscious. Notice how it all flows right along with what's happening in the world. Now here's our astrology. We're heading out of November, but what I'd like to highlight here, let me get my darker pointer here. This is Neptune. Neptune is heading direct, station direct this week, right in the midweek. right? That's a big deal. That spotlight energy is, and we all know Neptune, a lot more fantasy and showing illusion and escapism and that sort of thing. And that's really the main thing for the rest of November. As we get into, remember that on the November 30th, it's not on this chart because I keep the moon off. If we have the moon aspects on this chart, it'd be so freaking long. But we have the full moon, and it's an eclipse, so we're going to get into that. Mercury, it shifts into Sagittarius towards the end of the week, and as we get into December. Now, remember what we start seeing towards the middle part to the end part of December is the big squares, the big conflict and pressure, and that's indicated here. This is the December 16th. This is when this mega square starts happening. And if you haven't seen that other video, it's 2 videos ago. It's called When Will the Chaos End? This is when it probably is most likely to start. Saturn's going into Aquarius. Jupiter goes in right after, and all the while these big massive squares are happening right then. So this is what we're looking forward to in December. But so why do I point to that? Well, you're going to see this is now November 26th. This is our first Thursday. This is Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is tomorrow. If you're watching the video on the 25th, this is going to be tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. We have a bunch of squares. But these are going to go away fairly quickly. And then it's not going to be until December 16th that you're going to see all these massive squares coming in. So maybe this is a prelude. That's what I'm kind of seeing as a foreshadowing. And the only thing that's going to not be there when we look into December and January and February is Black Moon Lilith. That's why I've got her circled with the moon here on Thanksgiving Day. That's a little spooky. This is the first time. She's been in Taurus this whole time. She dips back into Aries, causes some fire. She's a fire lady anyway, untamed. And that energy is pretty crazy as the moon is heading towards a full moon eclipse. So crazy, getting the moon all stirred up and your emotions all stirred up. Black Moon Lilith and Aries can really set the selfishness on fire, the impulsiveness, and the unexpected. But after this, then Black Moon Lilith's going to head back into Taurus. But anyway, these are squared. And this is sort of it's a heavy square, so a lot of pressure, a lot of conflict to Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, the transformation, the positive transformation of the way things have always been. Our status quo is in transition, folks. And especially as Saturn and Jupiter head into Aquarius, the land of the free. And incidentally, they are concerned about the collective. They're very concerned about social engagement, but very good at it, but harmonious. But most importantly, it's individualism. As I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry about that, but it's important. The Saturn and Jupiter going into Aquarius, so it might as well be the age of Aquarius. Saturn will be there until March 2023 because he goes into retrograde 2 times during his periods in Aquarius. We also have on Thanksgiving Day Venus oppose Uranus. Now, this is the fairly early on in this arrangement, so this will be here all week, and it's on the one hand your deep passionate Scorpio nature, your deep passions are going to have to, and peace and harmony and beauty are going to have to be balanced with this massive change in the material world. Okay, Uranus is throwing unexpectedness everywhere, and now it's our time to stay balanced with that. This is the balancing act, that purple line. It's the opposition. But back to Black Moon Lilith, because this is going to go into our solution slide. Untamed fire is in conflict with the positive transformation of the status quo. All right. So now there is a rare opportunity here where deep, passionate thoughts and communication have an opportunity to be really rationalizing and thinking about Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn. So I'd spend my time there if you think about this, ironically thinking about it. If you think about it, there's your opportunity to be able to rationalize and see this positive transformation happening. All right, getting into Friday the 27th, emotional changes to passionate relationships. Emotional changes here in Uranus. They're on top of each other, moon whizzing past the change planet in opposition to Venus. So those are emotional changes. Those are going to be putting some challenges and keeping your relationships balanced, but it goes exact. This opposition goes exact. So it's the strongest. Meanwhile, as your relationships are trying to stay balanced, your ego is going to have to adjust to those. And ego, sun, is in the land of fire, Sagittarius, but flat and philosophy and just running off into the sunset sort of thing, not looking back. So, but adjusting to these emotional changes. Then this square here is Mars square Pluto, and we've been talking about this for a while because, remember, Mars was creating that square, then went to retrograde, created a square, now it's going direct, creating a square. And that'll be here for a little bit as Mars progresses onward in its journey, but it's a power struggle. Both of these planets rule Scorpio, Pluto with the inner power, the hidden hand, Mars the outer power, the material world, getting yang, getting things done, moving forward, and conflict, warrior, fighting, that sort of thing. And both of those are in conflict, if you can imagine that. The inner power, the outer power are in conflict. Imagine that. And that's what you can see. As above, so below. You've got all sorts of power structures in conflict in today's world. Saturday, getting into the weekend, getting closer to the full moon eclipse. Opportunity to rationalize and communicate to the positive transformation. So you saw earlier there was only 2 opportunities or sextiles. Now there's 3. So this weekend is a really good time to really go into thoughts, communication. You're going to maybe feel vindictive, but I'm talking more about your rational thoughts. There's an opportunity because of this Scorpio nature. It's not just a vindictive or passionate or obsessive, but sort of those darker thoughts, darker communication and travel. Short-term travel is also Mercury. All those pose an opportunity to the positive transformation of your status quo, as above, so below. Then the square is still there. The inconjunct is still there. All right, Sunday the 29th, we have, I want to note, Neptune station going direct shortly thereafter. So all through this week, you're going to feel a change in your dreams, change in the fantasy. This is where the House of Mirrors comes in. By the way, when we look at the House of Mirrors in astrology, there's multiple ones. I mean, just the eclipse. This is going to be the next day, but the eclipse, there's a House of Mirrors right there. Causes all sorts of disruptive energies. Full moons are crazy anyway. This is a crazy on steroids. So let's get into it. Monday the 30th, the lunar eclipse in northern Arkansas happens at 3:28 a.m. on the 30th. And this is the day where my short-term travel Mercury in Scorpio, vindictive travel, has an opportunity here in terms of changing the government. And you've got the truckers who are planning on a strike. No telling on how many will be supported there or whether or not they'll be advertised or talked about, or even if there's going to be any sort of effect or fallout. There very well could be. And apparently this has been tried before, but there weren't enough truckers to really make a dent in overall commerce exchange. Now, Black Moon Lilith, as I mentioned before, is now back into Taurus together with Uranus, dancing around saying, we're going to change everything. You think that you know what's happening. Oh, no, you don't. And You know, a lot of people are going to be shocked. And I think this is I got to hold on, because I'm going to put all this together. When we look at splitting apart and House of Mirrors, I'm going to show you a patch of something that I found that I think is what's happening in As Above, So Below. Again, I can't stress that enough, because it's in the stars. It's also in the dreams. It's in the I-Ching. We have something very special coming this week, I believe. Lastly, this is the eclipse energy. It's not technically conjunct, but the moon still in a full moon technicality. Once it gets within 8 degrees of the north node, it's still technically that full moon, and it's a big impact on our future. All right, that's the whole point there. All right. And because one other thing, because it's an eclipse energy, some people say it's 6 months of impact. Other people say that it's going to impact the next time you have a full moon lunar eclipse in Gemini. Well, I didn't research when that is. Here's some more Neptune. This is the House of Mirrors I was talking about. Neptune goes direct here. That's on Tuesday the 1st. It's been stationed all week, and when it's stationed, it's not so much these outer planets, but in relation to the Earth, they stop movement, which means that energy has more influence on the affairs of human life. Okay, so now it starts to move in the other direction, direct, and it's going to make that imprint on our life, and it could feel like the House of Mirrors, especially for those who have been programmed to not know what's really happening in the world today, who've been maybe living in the House of Mirrors this whole time. It's going to really feel like House of Mirrors when all this stuff goes down. Mars trine Sun is easy energy. Doesn't mean it's good energy. I mean, heck, I look back in the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of trines happening during that period. Not just trines, but a lot of trines, a lot of easy energy. It's the planets in alignment that were the key. So we look at Mars trine Sun, and that's easy to get into conflict. It's easy to fight your way. It's easy to have that conflicted mindset. And it's just kind of baked into the cake here. But also baked into the cake of your yang is obstruction to your inner power, conflict with your inner power. What you see and what you want to fight in your conscious mind is probably different than what you feel like the urges of deep below, deep within. And then finally, Wednesday, here's another Neptune aspect. Sun squared Neptune. Also, Venus has some easy energy. Moon, so gets emotional. This is your sense of beauty and relationships and even finance. Finance. Another Dow record, 30,000. Isn't that incredible? That's incredible. And is that because Venus is in Scorpio? Or because there's a positive transformation of the way things have always been, huh? Who knows? All right, let's get into the I-Ching reading. Get rid of my highlighter. This is from 11/26 to 12/2, December 2nd. Because there's no change line, the influence is the solution, and it's becoming 23, splitting apart. Splitting apart, as you're going to see the astrology all the way through this. Neptune going direct, Neptune trine Venus, Neptune square Sun, but also we've got the Mars, Moon, and Black Moon Lilith squared to the positive transformation of the way things have always been. This is the splitting apart. You need both. This is the division part. This is the illusion part. All right, let's read it. Things are not the way they seem. Reality appears to be a hall of mirrors. Intrigues are multiplying like summer flies, and there are rumors of discontent. It is the time of illusion, disintegration, distrust, and deception. Isn't this incredible? It's absolutely incredible. Return to the familiar. This is the solution part of the reading. Return to the familiar. Take solace in what is firm and secure. There is no blame in holding back. Indeed, it is your responsibility to keep your strength intact for the period of revival that follows the period of disintegration as surely as dawn follows the night. So, you need to know that even though it looks crazy out there right now, it's not falling into that crazy energy. It's consolidating your energy, knowing that the revival is just after this. All right. And you're going to need your energy for that. So discretion is the better part of valor, and good timing is critical. Learn to choose the proper moments for action, thereby avoiding futile effort. Pay close attention to changes that signal a time of retreat. In the realm of personal relations, discovering illusion can be painful and confusing. During a period such as this, it is wise to avoid undertaking bold new moves. It is especially important not to jump to conclusions when you sense that nothing is quite as it seems. I can't state that enough, but we're going to read that again on the summary slide. Now I have a question for you. So far, what I've talked about, and we're already kind of into the solution now because it's all melded together, but what event out in the real world seems to be fulfilling both the splitting apart and the house of mirrors, or in other words, the division and the confusion? What about this? Release the Kraken. How about that? Have you heard of that term before? Sydney has been talking about that quite extensively, and it seems like everything she says is in alignment with this number 17 material that a lot of us know about. All right, let's go into, so first, before I go into our calculator, I need to specify that there is a lot of, so release the Kraken, splitting apart, and house of mirrors is indicated in the astrology numerous ways. So I had to use some intuition, and it pointed to use Black Moon Lilith. And I think the reason why is because Black Moon Lilith energy, the untamed fire in the fire sign, is very symbolic, but also it caused this foreshadowing, this projection. So whatever happens here is probably going to be reappearing towards the middle part, to end of December and into January. And recall that in January, when we get to Inauguration Day, the squares there, everything, all the other aspects go away, and this multiplies by, I think, roughly 4. It might be 4 times this big channeled conflict thing. So anyway, in this week, the motif is symbolized most by Black Moon Lilith in Aries, and it is hexagram 3 in the rave mandala. And you're going to see how just incredible this is. Rave mandala 3, we'll read that, and then at the very tail end of Pisces. And so see how the solution is the influence this week. So Neptune owns or rules Pisces, and Pisces are a little overlap into the sidereal Pisces, but we're talking about a whole different planet, or Black Moon Lilith is technically not a planet, but a point in the sky, is over in sidereal Pisces. And so the influence becomes the solution. It's incredible. All right, let's read Rave Mandala, the gate of ordering. It is the sacral that the potential for mutation is empowered. Mutation is empowered through the sacral. All right, this is a gate of confused energy. Wow. There's confusion all over the energy in the astrology. Confused in the sense that it is unsubstantiated like the individual insight. It is unique and has to find its form. Mutation can operate in 2 basic ways. Basically, we have the imminent side of mutation, which is the fertility, ovaries and testes, and that it talks about that. And then it talks about the mutation over generations. So it'd be the genetic makeup. But then we talk about cultural mutation. So there's a lot of mutation happening right now. Crazy, eh? So let's get into the solution slide. And it is the House of Mirrors, and as things get crazy, I'm thinking the more the division happens, of course, there's going to be a lot of people jump ship on their worldview. But Neptune is here to really catalyze illusion, fantasy, sift out what's real and what's not real. And so anyway, the influence was a solution. So let's look at the triangulation here just to be sure. We stay with I-Ching 23, splitting apart. It's keep your strength intact and prepare for the revival that follows. Keep your strength during this period, during this week. Rave Mandala says, it's a gate of ordering. It's a gate of confused energy. Sacral is empowered for mutation. And then finally, Sidereal Pisces says, be spiritual. Don't worry about emotion. Let those emotions run its course. You can be idealistic, compassionate, transcendent. Oneness is one thing that Pisces is really good about, and even psychic. So using the House of Mirror influence for the solution, actually. All right. So let's read the triangulation. Pisces is the antidote for the House of Mirrors. Pisces is the home for dreamy illusionists called Neptune. Become transcendent. So you're using the very thing that causes House of Mirrors, confusion, fantasy. You're going to use those skills for your benefit. Become transcendent. Avoid dualism. Because we are all one. We are all connected. Use emotion to help discern how and when to act or to pull back. Consolidate your strength. Pisces can relax if they don't get too emotional and self-sacrificing. So relax, consolidate your strength, conserve, build forces for the revival. Don't give too much of your energy up being a martyr or escapism, or melodramatic, or self-sacrificing too much. Sacral is empowered and holds key insights to individual generational and cultural mutation. Now, if you know anything about human design, look into your chart and see whether or not your sacral is defined or not. That's going to be, it's not good or bad. Defined will mean that it's very accurate, and it will give you insights about when you should be doing certain things, whether or not to commit to certain activities or pull back and that sort of thing. So honor that sacral, even if it's not your number one authority. If it's undefined, then you've got very special insights about this cultural mutation. And an undefined sacral is not confusing per se. You just need to know how to use it. And when you're undefined sacral, just like all the other centers in human design, you can accidentally soak in other people's energies of that same center. So watch out for that. But each one has its advantages, defined or undefined. All right, watch very carefully for escapism. That's also sidereal Pisces. Running through the House of Mirrors can be dangerous, so take it slow. It's not a time to be the martyr. Big week for spiritual regimen. Don't forget your spiritual protocols. Don't forget your routine. Even beef it up this week, whether it's prayer, meditation, some sort of divination. This is the time to do it. And we are all connected, right? So where we go, one. All right, everybody, have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here. And let's watch this storm come upon us. We are all prepared, aren't we? Yeah, both mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. But anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again. Bye.